Welcome back to Bite Size Vid's Crime Channel, where we uncover the shadows of the past with respect and curiosity. Today, we dive into one of the most haunting tales from mid-20th century America, the story of Edward Gein, known to the world as the Butcher of Plainfield. His life wasn't just a series of crimes. It was a tragic spiral shaped by isolation, obsession, and unimaginable loss. This is a story that inspired some of horror's greatest icons, from Norman Bates in Psycho to Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But behind the fiction lies a real man, a quiet handyman whose descent into darkness shocked a nation. Viewer discretion is advised. We'll keep it factual, but the details are disturbing. Let's begin. Edward Theodore Gein entered the world on August 27, 1906, in La Crosse, Wisconsin, a sleepy town along the Mississippi River where the air smelled of fresh-cut hay and the river's gentle current whispered promises of normalcy. He was the second son of George Philip Gein, a timid carpenter struggling with alcoholism, and Augusta Wilhelmine Gein, a stern, devout Lutheran woman whose iron will dominated their lives. From the start, Ed's childhood was far from idyllic. The family moved to a 195-acre farm near Plainfield in 1915, a remote patch of land that felt more like a prison than a home. Augusta, a widowmaker in spirit long before George died in 1940 from heart failure and alcoholism, filled the house with fire and brimstone sermons. She preached that the world was sinful, that men were weak, and that her boys were destined for damnation unless they heeded her every word. Ed, a frail boy with a lazy eye from a childhood infection, idolized his mother. He was quiet, awkward, the kind of kid who faded into the background at school, earning average grades and few friends. His older brother Henry was the more outgoing one, a logger who questioned Augusta's grip and tried to pull Ed into the outside world. But Augusta saw Henry as a threat, a devil tempting her pure son. Ed, meanwhile, retreated into fantasy. He devoured books on Nazi experiments and adventure tales, sketching odd inventions in secret notebooks. By his teens, he was helping on the farm, but his mind wandered to the macabre, dissecting small animals not out of cruelty, but a morbid curiosity about life and death. The turning point came in 1944. A brush fire swept the Gein farm, and Henry vanished in the smoke. Ed, 38 and still living at home, claimed he found his brother dead under a tree, his forehead mysteriously scarred. The coroner ruled it an accident from smoke inhalation, but whispers lingered. Had Ed, in a haze of loyalty to his mother, struck Henry down? No charges were filed, but the incident haunted Plainfield. With Henry gone and George long buried, it was just Ed and Augusta against the world. She grew frailer, her sermons more feverish, until December 29, 1945, when a stroke claimed her at 67. Ed was devastated. He boarded up most of the house, preserving her room as a shrine, dust-covered furniture, her Bible open to verses of sin and redemption. He lived in the kitchen, scraping by as a handyman, babysitter, and odd jobber in town. To the neighbors, Ed was harmless, a shy, giggling eccentric who fixed gates for free and attended church. But alone on that decaying farm, something fractured. For the next decade, Plainfield slept uneasily. Local graveyards began to empty. Between 1947 and 1952, at least 9 women, middle-aged, unmarried, much like Augusta, were exhumed from Plainfield Cemetery and others nearby. Bodies were found with heads missing, torsos stripped of flesh. Rumors swirled of a ghoul loose in the night, but no leads emerged. Ed, ever the unassuming figure, confessed years later that these thefts were his doing. Driven by a longing to recreate his mother, he dug up graves under the cover of full moons, dragging the corpses back to his shed. There, In the dim lamplight of a slaughterhouse-like workshop, he experimented, tanning skin into gloves, sewing masks from faces, even fashioning a lampshade from human flesh. It wasn't about killing for thrill, it was a grotesque attempt at resurrection, a way to fill the void Augusta left. He wore these suits at night, dancing in the moonlight, murmuring to the empty rooms as if she watched. But Ed's darkness didn't stay buried forever. On November 16, 1957, the sleepy town awoke to horror. Bernice Worden, 58, the widowed owner of Plainfield's hardware store, vanished after opening early. Her son, Frank, a deputy sheriff, noticed the store empty, the cash register open, and a receipt in Ed Gein's handwriting for antifreeze. That night, Frank and Sheriff Art Schlee drove to the Gein farm. Ed greeted them cheerfully, offering coffee, but his eyes darted nervously. They searched the property, and in the shed behind the house, a ramshackle outbuilding reeking of decay, they found Bernice. She hung upside down from a rafter, gutted like a deer, her throat slit. Inside the house, the nightmare unfolded. A chair upholstered in cured skin, bowls made from skulls, a belt of nipples, and 4 severed heads preserved in a box. The walls bore scratch marks as if souls clawed to escape. Ed, arrested without resistance, confessed calmly, "She wasn't the first, but she was the last." As investigators sifted through the filth, over 30 graves robbed, though only fragments remained, questions arose. Had Ed killed before? Many suspected Mary Hogan, a tavern keeper who vanished in 1954. Her head was found in Ed's possession, and locals recalled him lingering at her bar. He admitted to her murder too, claiming he blacked out and struck her with a hammer. But evidence was thin. The body parts had been burned or discarded. Only Bernice's killing was ironclad. Ed's trial in 1968, delayed by years of psychiatric evaluations, lasted just a week. Psychiatrists painted a portrait of a broken mind, schizotypal personality disorder, mommy issues so deep they warped reality. He heard voices, believed his acts brought Augusta back. The jury found him not guilty by reason of insanity. At 62, he was committed to Central State Hospital in Waupun, Wisconsin, where he spent his days gardening, reading, and carving plastic utensils into spoons, a far cry from the monster of legend. Ed Gein's final years were quiet. He bounced between institutions, befriending nurses who saw the scared boy beneath the infamy. On July 26, 1984, at 77, respiratory failure from lung cancer ended his life. No funeral rites, his body was cremated, ashes scattered anonymously. Plainfield, scarred but resilient, tore down the Gein farmhouse in 1958 after it burned under suspicious fires. Today, the site is a field, but the echoes linger in popular culture. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, released in 1960, drew from Gein's cross-dressing and motel horrors. Tobe Hooper's 1974. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre amplified the skin-wearing cannibalism. Even the silence of the lambs nods to his trophies. Gein didn't just kill, he birthed a genre, forcing us to confront the banality of evil, how a reclusive farmer became a synonym for the macabre. So what drove Edward Gein? Was it Augusta's suffocating love, a brain twisted by isolation, or the farm's lonely whispers? Historians point to a perfect storm: religious fanaticism, repressed sexuality, and untreated mental illness in an era without safeguards. His story warns us of the unseen fractures in ordinary lives. As we close this chapter, remember, true horror isn't in the gore, but in the humanity we lose when darkness goes unchecked. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the shadows. If you found value in this respectful retelling, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. What fascinates you most about true crime history? Hit the bell for more episodes. Stay curious and stay safe. Until next time.